the Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging the moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land. I'm drinking my buddy's homemade wine. Living Northwest wild. Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi when it gets hot. I'm proud of all the things that I've got. I'm digging in moss bags up in the sand, and after work a cold beer in my hand, picking wild berries off God's land, and drinking my buddy's homemade wine in the Northwest wild.
Hey, good evening and welcome to Fish Out Northwest to Wayne, England. Tommy Donlan, and believe it or not, the one flowing the long, blonde, curly locks. Yes. Is it true? The elk slayer himself has graced us with his presence. Nobody other than Kelly Barnum. Back in studio, man.
I might get a haircut if Culp wins.
There you go. You mean win?
Well, you're gonna get a haircut.
Yeah. Right, I'm gonna get a haircut.
Let's just jump right to that. Holy smokes, right? Front runner in the primary, obviously on the Republican side. If you fish, hunt, have passion for the outdoors, have caught some of his information or not, we're going to tell you right out of the gate here, if you care about the future of our outdoor opportunities, you better be voting for Culp.
There's no in between.
There's no in between. And he's not just saying stuff. Right. He's a guy that will follow through with what he believes in, right? And he believes in revamping our hunting and fishing opportunities.
Right. I think the major thing I've noticed about Lauren is the fact that when we had him here early, like when he was first started, nothing's changed.
No.
Like what he's saying has not changed.
No.
His message has not changed.
Other than if you haven't made it to one of his rallies, when he was here the first time in December, and it was pre-Christmas, colder than anything outside,
right?
Moderately warm in here, but you know the beads of sweat were rolling off his forehead, and he hadn't had a lot of time in front of the camera, and and admittedly was kind of like, yeah, this is pretty overwhelming. I mean, we were doing this show and great questions. We had a really good conversation, right? It was really good content, Barnum. Now he doesn't just land up there in Snohomish County on a field in his airplane that he's flying, right? Because he's a pilot.
Right.
He approaches a stage in this jacked up monstrous truck or a limousine or whatever, and he rolls in like a rock star. The band's cranking Ted Nugent, of course, and he comes on there, thumbs up, guns ablazing, and here we go.
Right.
And credit to him. I told him in conversation over a cold one at the Buckley gathering, hey, this is the evolution of Lauren Culp.
It is, because that was my biggest concern when we left here that night after the first time we interviewed him was, is he charismatic enough to carry it all the way through? Because that's what people are looking for, charisma.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look at a Barack Obama, and I'm not going to say Inslee has charisma.
Oh, good Lord.
But I'm saying that's what people are looking for.
And confidence.
That charisma. Yeah.
You got to have confidence,
I was afraid he didn't have it, but he's definitely showing it now.
Oh, my gosh. And people need to start following what he has going on and what his message really stands for. And if there is something that you haven't heard him say or you're questioning where he's at on a certain issue, you just got to fire it off to him via social media. He answers thousands of people. Right. He literally takes the time. His team goes through on social media and they are tracking what is going on. So, congratulations to our friend Lauren Culp. He is the front runner, obviously, now going head to head with Jay Inslee. Got a lot of work to do, a lot of ground to make up. And let's hope the mail-in ballots are truthful in this state, because I don't have a lot of confidence in that either. Okay, before we go too far off the rails, Fish on Northwest is presented by Better Homes and Gardens Pacific Commons Real Estate, located in Puyallup, Washington. And of course, our good buddies out there at Defiance Marine, the manufacturers of Defiance, Arima, and of course Allied Series boats. Speaking of which, dropping the price on the Raider, we're down to $37,000. Going to knock $1,500 off of that thing. I'm going to repost it here this week. Going to get that boat sold so I can get to work on that 21-foot Mustang Allied hardtop.
There you go.
Yep, time to get moving forward. I'm going to go pick it up out of the salt here this next week, or actually this weekend.
Sweet.
Bring it home from Kingston, get her all polished up, and yep, going to get that boat in the lucky hands of someone. Make you very happy you have that boat as, maybe it's your first boat, maybe you're just getting into a little bit bigger of a boat, but that 18-foot Raider will get it done on a lot of fisheries for you. So still for sale, and we'll repost that up on the Fish on Northwest Facebook page. All right. With that, I want to remind everybody also that our good buddy Patrick Gaffney, Harbor Herring owner, got his product into Sportco. You can get Harbor Herring now at Sportco and OE as of this week. So for all the guys that have been messaging us here at Fish Hunt Northwest and asking about Harbor Herring, yes, in fact, it is at Sportco, and if not at OE, soon to be there within a day or two. Congratulations, Patrick, and Gaffney's Guide Service as well. Harbor Herring is at Sportco. Go get some of the best top quality herring in the Northwest that you can find. All right, we also have stepped into the COVID realm against my stance on this whole deal. Anyway, we have FA10 mask and neck gaiters, various colors. We have a picture there that Josh is putting up. We have a ton of different colors. We're getting these printed up. Our son Blake actually is working feverishly to keep inventory on hand, and we have a number of different colors. We are very close to finishing our webpage as well, and so we will have our store up very soon with all of our wares, to include for now masks and neck gaiters, which all of that, Barnum, will go away after the election.
Right.
Somewhere about November 5th or so, COVID will miraculously disappear.
Right. Yeah.
Life can get back to normal.
Yeah, but I walked into the room and Sheri pointed them out to me, and I wasn't looking for a face mask as far as COVID goes, because I refuse to wear it.
But for neck gaiters and hunting.
But I'm thinking, like, in the blind?
Heck yeah.
This thing is going to be pretty slick.
Absolutely. And we will continue to sell the neck gaiters for hunting and fishing. It's going to protect you from UV rays on the water, and it's going to help you camo yourself out in the blind or an open field. So absolutely, whether you're waterfowl hunting or just trying to get a little extra cover, the neck gaiters are a must, especially in the wintertime. All right, so we do have that going on. Moving ahead, Barnum is back, gracing us with his presence for the show. We got some elk discussion to have. Yeah. Tommy's pretty fired up about it.
I am.
You've been picking his brain. Yeah.
We might be here 2 or 3 hours after
Can we do a 4-hour show? I mean,
didn't you tell me about a guy who killed an elk and caught tuna all on the same day?
It could happen.
Like a dream.
Somebody did. Yeah. I forget who told me that.
I told you about that. But.
There was a guy that went out tuna fishing, and they got done, plugged the boat early, came back in, and went out that evening and killed his elk. Yeah. Tuna and elk. And probably the only guy to ever do it. I cannot remember who it is.
We can try to make that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We have means for that.
You just got to plan, a little pre-planner, right?
That's a cast and blast most people aren't talking about.
That is a cast and maybe arrow sling that nobody is talking about, right? That is one for the record book. So something to think about. All right. We do have some information to cover around the Pacific Northwest and beyond. One thing that's on the radar of many is the budget rolling into the latter part of this year, and as we get into 2021, state budget. According to Lauren Culp, this state's budget is almost $1 billion a week. We're spending almost $60 billion a year. And remind you, when Inslee took office 8 years ago, it was $30 billion. Wow. It's almost doubled, Barnum, in 8 years. So we're spending about $1 billion a week. The reason I bring that up is because the shortfalls for the state's budget, based on COVID, the dismantling of a booming economy, an amazing budget, or a booming economy that was going on, is they're going to be up against about a $9 billion shortfall, which is, I looked at that and went, 9 weeks of operation that they're going to be struggling for, okay? Mm-hmm. So maybe they should just shut all their stuff down for 9 weeks, and then after 9 weeks, they can all go back to work, right? It's their turn to take a back seat. Anyway, along with that, Inslee basically put it out there, needs input from all state agencies to submit where you're going to make cutbacks rolling into 2021 as we lean on this budget. So WDFW submitted a budget reduction. They're looking at almost $31 million reduction for the biennium budget between 2021 and 2023. They're solid. If you remember when we talked about it, they're solid from now until June-ish of 2021. They secured that $28 million.
Right.
As you get past that and get into the next biennium, that is a window of where they have a $30.8 million shortfall. Wow. So they're trying to decide which programs, which part of their agency, which field personnel, where can they take the hits but still continue to provide enough that we still want to go buy licenses. Right. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah. And that's affected us in the past too with the fish checkers.
Absolutely.
Cutting our season short because they don't have the means to verify the quota.
Or hatchery programs. They don't have food. They don't have the means to put staff in a certain hatchery and run that. So they're going to take a $500,000 hit on, coho plants or something out of this particular hatchery. Our meeting with some staffers from WDFW talking about trout plants and whatnot, and more specific to what's going on here at Summit Lake. Indications are, they look at it globally. There are more, obviously, license holders and trout fishermen and ladies in our state than anything else, because that's the big draw, right?
Right.
So when you look at that and provide opportunity, it's like, the last thing we want to do is cut trout hatcheries, because we still want people to come buy licenses. And as we know, with the COVID, try to find some things in your stores right now relative to hunting and fishing gear, tackle, means to supplies, right? The manufacturers are having a hard time keeping up with demand because we got to that point. Everything was shut down, thanks to our illustrious governor. But when it opened back up, holy smokes, people came out in droves. Nothing else to do. Hey, fishing's cool again, right? Hey, let's get ready for hunting. Haven't done it in years. So that's been happening. License sales went through the roof. Well, albeit mostly fishing, but license sales went through the roof. That is outstanding, and too bad we can't keep it hovering there. Now we take this COVID hit, and it's like the cutbacks are going to be detrimental in the sense that, I can't go do that next year? Well, I'm not going to buy a license.
Well, that's the frustrating part, and that's the trickle-down part, because we're still restricting small business in this state, and it's time to cut small business loose and let it do what it's made to do, which is generate revenue.
Right.
That's what we do.
Yes.
I mean, that's what restaurants do. That's what theaters do. That's what nightclubs and bars do. They generate revenue, which go into the coffers of our state, which allows us to fund things like WDFW.
So
it's just insane that still to this day, even though we know what the death rate of COVID-19 is now pretty securely, that it's not a death sentence if you get it.
No.
Right? Why are we still restricting small businesses? How do you run a restaurant on 50% capacity?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't.
Yep.
And you can't when you shut bars at 10 o'clock. Because COVID will rear its head at 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
like
at 10:01.
It climbs out of the pumpkin or something.
It's like the Gremlins.
I
mean, if you feed it after 10:01.
Well, and it doesn't go in big box stores. It only attacks churches.
Major corporations are fine. Don't sweat Walmart.
Pod shops, it won't go in pod shops. It won't go in big box. It won't go in liquor stores.
Right.
It will rear its ugly head in churches and community gatherings.
Right. And
it will
small
not
family restaurant.
It won't show up at the riots.
Right.
But it'll show up at the Cope rallies. So don't.
I mean, who knew COVID was a Democrat? That's what it comes down to.
I think everybody did. All right. Joking. For all the Democrats that follow us, we are joking. All right. Just don't blow us up here. We got to be a little sarcastic.
Yeah, you got Barnum in the house tonight. I mean, you might as well expect bad comments.
The interesting thing on this whole budget thing, and we're going to try to run this in here before we run too long. WDFW is also submitting. The commission said move forward with this budget submittal to the governor and the state legislators. They are on board with submitting and asking for next year $233 million.
Right.
This is not operating budget money. This is project money. Shovel ready is what they call it. Okay. They recognize they have shovel ready programs that they want to continue to see through because they've already got a good start on them. It's stuff like forest health, wildfire risk reduction work that's already begun happening. They want to continue hatchery and fish management improvements, recreation site improvements, fencing to reduce the deer and elk damage. We've had Chase Gunnell on here multiple times. Conservation Northwest, we have shown time and time again the positive effects that the under and over passages have had, especially on the main highways like I-90 and stuff on the east side. Highway, I forget the number. 297, 197, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was 97 or 197, I think. Yeah, you're right.
Average at least one mule deer a day is getting decimated by vehicles. So the fencing and the over and underpasses are critical. Must happen to ensure that we continue to rebuild some of these herds that have been decimated over time. So a number of projects that would be included in that. And on the other side of that, it generates 2,700 jobs. Well, it literally puts 27, almost 3,000 people back to work in completing these projects. So it's crucial that we recognize, you know, some things are going to suffer, but there are some things that they got to find a means and a ways to get that money. I'm thinking you're spending $1 billion a week. We can find $233 million to support these programs for the better part of a year, get the work done, put people to work, and let these continue to happen. So not everything in WDFW takes a complete back seat. Right. There are other programs, other projects that can be put on hold, but let's make sure we get
the. That's been the MO of this leadership. Is
absolutely.
WDFW always takes the back seat. Yep. You know, they begged for funds for years and then finally got it. And now it's like, well, I mean, we have an excuse to take it away again.
You're right. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, we actually have a list of other topics to get to. We're going to roll those into the latter part of the show. We'll just kind of bounce those to the back end. We're going to jump out for a very quick break. We come back. Barnum, you're on the hot seat. We're gonna delve right into elk season's just around the corner, September, right? And our previous history about this time of year, we're really getting into the conversations as it relates to elk hunting, preparation, archery, the whole deal. Tommy and I want to really get into your head on, are you elk ready? Physically, mentally, what does that mean? Are you out practicing your bow, or you physically getting ready? And what is it? How do you mentally prepare yourself, right? Later on in the show, we're going to get into opening day, undercalling, overcalling, pursuit of elk, and that whole game that we play, right? That you do so masterfully. Right now, we're going to talk about, are you elk ready? So we're going to jump into that. We come back right here on FHN.
Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Whether you are looking for a small skiff to fish the Sound or rivers, or a huge offshore tuna machine, Defiance Marine has it. At Defiance Marine, be sure to power your boat with a Honda outboard package. Take advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty on your Honda outboards. Our service department is always here to help and serve you as the customer. Did you know Defiance Marine has boat financing experts to help get you the best term rates on your new boat purchase? If you need financing for that new boat, call us today. We guarantee the best price, best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine also carries all the gear that you will need. Everything from auxiliary kicker motors to fishing tackle and bait. Defiance Marine has certified technicians that are top-notch at their job. Some of the best in the Pacific Northwest at evaluating your boat issues and problems. Stop in today or give us a call for all your needs at Defiance Marine.
Hey, welcome back in studio, Dwayne England, Tommy Dolan, and the infamous Kelly Barnum.
Right. Scrambling in.
Yeah. That's a business to conduct.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to jump into the hunting thing. Before we do, some friends of ours become friends here at Fish Hunt Northwest, and personal friends, Ken Witt and his family. His son Logan last fall dropped a dandy blacktail. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember this.
We got this picture of Logan at 15 years old, dropped this, just a donkey of a blacktail.
Right.
Since had it mounted, and he's got the mount back at the house. Just a phenomenal, just not too far from here, okay?
Right.
Logan and Sawyer, the boys, they're outdoorsmen. These young men are phenomenal. And Ken and the boys actually stopped by around 4th of July, dropped us off a bunch of bay oysters that we had for the 4th. And we talk hunting, and it's great to actually get to know families like this that have been brought up hunting, because Tommy and I started hunting late in life.
Right.
Years-wise, I started later in life than he actually did, because he's only 27 or whatever.
I wish.
So to pick the brains of Ken and watch what he's done with his boys, much like you, bringing up your boys in hunting, so they have that understanding at a young age. So Logan goes out opening day, August 1st, bear hunting, because he can go out and go bear hunting. So I'm going to go bear hunting. And he saw 2 bear that morning, and he shot one, and he ended up with a nice black bear on opening day. all on his own. Calls his dad, says, "Hey, I knocked one off. It went down the draw. Might need some help." Ken goes out there. They drop down in there. Yep, sure enough, Logan got his bear. Great. So there he is at 16 years old, just getting out there, getting it done.
There's one less Fonny here.
Right. Yeah, and I attribute it to the hat. The kid wears the hat because that's what counts. It is Fish Hunt Northwest. So congratulations to Logan once again. Very proud of you, and continue to do great stuff. And those boys they're well on their way. So
you got to start them young.
Oh man, these guys got it going on.
It's actually a bit of a challenge because you don't want to. I experience this with my kids. Like, you don't want to overwhelm them with it because we as parents, like, we have so much excitement that goes into hunting season and everything, but you don't want to like overplay that to them because then you put pressure on them.
Yeah.
And so, getting them into situations where their chances of success are very high, I think is very crucial.
Giving them little bits at a time.
Yes. Doing the things like the trout fishing or, or say going to the east side and doing the doe hunts when they were available. Things where the opportunity for success is very high.
Right.
And just kind of feed that addiction a little bit,
Introduce them to fishing on humpy years and when there's a bunch of chum.
Yeah.
You're going to wear their arms out.
Right.
And they're going to be like, this is unbelievable. Right. Then when you get them out on those days of winter on steelhead and you see your hook and lose one fish, they're like, I think I like chum fishing, Dad. Well, it's not always like this, but
And we learned from trial and error. Like for me, when my kids got older, like the first thing I thought when they were old enough to hunt, like, let's get them in on this rifle elk hunting. And that is so insane. And it's like, I figured out real quick that like they weren't enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
like this is not
as it was pouring down rain.
Like this, you enjoy this. This is what you live for, but they don't enjoy this. Like they don't want to be pouring down the rain. They don't want the rat race. They don't want to wonder if somebody's going to shoot over their head.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to be a part of that.
Was it the 6 mile in or the 8th mile in? Right. We're wondering.
Exactly.
But saying that, Huddy got a nice elk last year.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, he's 2 for 2 on bow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
2 for 2. First one at 14.
Yeah, be 14 and 15.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Can I be your child?
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
You know how to swing a hammer? You got to
I can't mow the lawn though, just to let you know I'm allergic to grass. So
you got to earn your keep. You got to earn your keep around the Barnum farm, son.
Are you a good roofer?
Probably not.
All right, Barnum. So as we roll into September, we are now first week of August. Guys and gals should be getting the bow out there off the shelf or off the hook and hitting those targets. And you got kind of a process you like to do.
Right.
Tommy and I talked last week to Ryan Black down there at Sportco, runs the pro shop.
Okay.
Very phenomenal in archery in his own right. And, talking about that progression and muscle memory you're developing and, of course, fatigue. Yeah. And how fatigue can hamper you if you think you're just going to keep driving arrows and you're actually falling off because you're getting worse and you just keep going. It's like detrimental, right? So talk about kind of your process that morning routine where you like to, stick a few and just kind of your mindset on that.
So, we're all busy, right? Everybody's busy. We all work jobs, we have family lives, but we want to get out and do outdoors. Anytime you can pick the bow up and shoot the bow is a good thing. Yeah. But like he said on the fatigue thing, going out and trying to pump 200 shots through your bow because you didn't shoot for the last 2 weeks is not helping anybody.
That's like watering a dead plant.
Yeah,
it's not coming back, right?
It's important to remember to limit your shots. Really, for me, I go outside, I shoot 20 shots. That's plenty. That was a chance for me to get warmed up, get at least 7 or 8 arrows that were true, confident arrows. But we have to remember, when we're in a hunting situation, when do we get to shoot 10, 12 shots before we actually are warmed up and get a chance to shoot at that bull of a lifetime or the first bull opportunity? We don't get to do that. So, there's a couple things that I like to do that kind of train myself for that one and done situation. Hopefully things don't go completely Western and we're emptying quivers, which, it's bow hunting.
We're emptying quivers.
But it's bow hunting. But one thing I like to do is I have a little morning routine that I like to do where I'll set my target up just straight off of my front porch, maybe at 20, 30 yards, and I'll wake up in the morning, I'll have my cup of coffee, I'll watch a little bit of news, and when I feel like I'm up and going, I'll pick up my bow, I'll leave it maybe sitting over in the corner, I'll pick it up, I'll run 2 arrows through that into that target. I'll do that, I'll leave those arrows in the target. And I'll do that for 4 or 5 days. So I'll have 8, 10 arrows in that target. And I'll call that my first shot group. And I'll make adjustments to my sights according to that first shot group. Because when I'm out hunting, and I'm going to draw that bow, it's going to be my first shot that's going to be the one that has to count.
Yeah.
So if I pick up that bow in an afternoon session and I dump 5 arrows and 4 of them went over here and 1 of them was pretty good, but then arrow, 6, 7, 8, 9 were beautiful, that's not doing me no good.
Right.
Like, I'm hoping I don't get to arrow 6, 7, 8, 9.
That's like your cold bore shot, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that first shot is going to be an inch high,
right,
or an inch low,
right.
And
I may make adjustments, and I'm not saying like, I shot 9 inches to the right for 4 arrows, and then the other 2 were perfect. Like, I might ex-nay those arrows and go, well, that's just me.
Yeah.
Maybe one too many cups of coffee this morning, a little jittery, but just kind of looking at that and know that, at the moment of truth, I'm not going to be warmed up. I'm not going to be ready for this situation, and this is where my arrows tend to go. The other thing that's going to happen in the moment of truth is your heart rate's going to be elevated. You're going to be excited. Adrenaline's going to be pumping. And so one of the things I like to do on those afternoon shoots is I have a fairly steep driveway. I'll make 2 or 3 runs up that driveway and really get my heart rate up, really get pumping. Then I'll quickly go to my bow, pick it up, pull an arrow back, ready to shoot, and try to get my breathing under control.
That breath.
Even though the heart rate, I can hear it.
Oh, yeah.
You hear it right here.
Yep. Doing everything I can to decompress, bring it down, come into that situation. There was a great movie, I think it was called For the Love of the Game with Kevin Costner. When he's throwing the perfect game and he's like, close the mechanism.
Right.
And everything goes silent. It's that same thing.
All you hear is that heart in your head.
Yes.
This hill out here, my shooting lane there, that's 20, 30, 40.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about that, right?
Yep.
Couple runs up and down the hill, come back down the hill, try to collect that breath, stabilize that bow, and release that arrow on the next hill.
Because that's the situation. I mean, it's 2 ways. Like, I never know what's better. If I see the bull coming from a long ways and I have time to get control of myself, or if the bull just pops out.
Tommy's like, no, that's no. I'd rather have that thing pop out. Oh, there it is. Flat. Right. Or,
Right.
Because the closer that thing gets, the heart just starts to...
Right. And then you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you think, you're dead.
Yep. You're done.
As Maverick would say.
Right.
When you think, you're dead.
So either way, you have to learn to control your breathing. You have to learn to control that heart rate. So it's a great way. It's hard to simulate what you're going to feel. I mean, even running up and down the hill a couple times isn't going to be what you're about to feel when a bull comes in.
Well, you're talking adrenaline versus physical fatigue, right? So you cannot match that adrenaline rush.
Right.
But the way it amps your heart up and you get that rapid heart rate going, and your breathing becomes a little more unstable and not so cadenced, you can mimic that to a point with that physical exertion, because you do have to try and stable that bow when your heart is pounding, right? And you do have to try to control that breath.
You got to avoid trigger punch. You have to make sure you're picking your spot. The biggest thing the biggest thing I had to learn through early years of bow hunting is picking your spot. I mean, as soon as I see the bull, I verify he's legal, because I'm not one to wait for. I'm not looking for a giant. I'm looking for an elk down. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So as soon as I verify that bull's legal, my whole mindset goes into kill mode. I'm picking my spot. I'm going to zone in on a single hair on that elk, and I'm going to put that arrow on that single hair. And that's been a huge. I don't look at the horns again. I see the elk, I scan forward to see what is the situation in front of me, where is my shot placement going to happen, where am I going to get that shot, and then I'm focused on that spot and that kill spot coming into that spot and making it happen.
Where are you at on distance, especially for a guy or gal that's been in it for just a few years? Like, if you're doing it right and working it, and you understand your wind and your calling is successful, and you can draw them bulls into 20 yards. Right. If you're very confident in 40 yards, don't you think that's a good window of operating?
That's my rule number one. My rule number one for me, because I run a business, I'm super busy. I don't get the shots through my bow that I always want to. Right. In fact, sometimes I'm embarrassed about the amount of shots I get through my bow before a season. But I have a strict rule that I ride by, and it's my first shot will not be over 40 yards. I mean, it just will not. Right. I've had bulls I had a bull a few years ago at 50 yards for probably over 15 minutes. I could have put 50 arrows in him. Never took the shot. I don't practice enough to take that 50-yard shot. There's plenty of people that can shoot bulls at 90, 100 yards. Kudos to them for being way better archers than me. I'm a good elk hunter. I'm not a great archer. I will admit that in a heartbeat.
That is the defining difference right there.
I'm not. I mean, people come to me all the time. What grain arrow are you shooting? This and that and that. I don't even know.
Well, I mean, so the other part of that, though, is if there is an individual that's not comfortable with whatever distance, 50 yards, 60 yards, and you take that
Right.
shot, you just committed yourself for the rest of that day.
Yes.
Maybe the next day and the day after to find that bull
Animal.
that you shot.
You've potentially mortally wounded an animal that you're not going to cover. But number two, the biggest thing to me is I've now ruined that opportunity at that elk that I will never get that opportunity again because now I've put an arrow in him.
Yep.
So he's not coming into a call tomorrow. He's not coming into a call this afternoon. He's not coming into a call next year. This is over.
It's it.
So if I take my time, even if I never am able to coax him into that 40 yards, at least there's tomorrow, you know, and that's the way I look at it. Now, once I've put an arrow in that elk, and let's say things go western, it wasn't where I wanted it to be, then everything's open. I mean, if I can get an arrow at 70, 80 yards and think I can get it in him, like I'm going to let it go, because he's already wounded.
Yep. Right,
We're going for it.
Yep.
I owe that animal to do whatever I can to end this process.
So great tips on some things to think about in preparation. You know, the big takeaway here for me, as it was the first handful of times we started talking archery, hunting for elk, and actually doing it, is know your limitations.
Right.
And be comfortable within that window, right? And don't exceed your confident limitations.
Right.
Don't take chances and risks on just, man, you know, I know I'm good at 40, I'm just going to go for it at 65. Right. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
It does not work that way. And you're gonna wound an animal. You're gonna feel like crap.
Right. And it's that situation where, like you said, when it's a controlled situation in the yard, I can punch, not punch the bullseye, but I can shoot that softball at 70 yards all day. But that's not with elevated heart rate.
Right.
The whole adrenaline
and
situation.
a bull staring at you.
Yeah, and a bull staring at you. And like I've said, 99% of the times when I pass that longer shot, I get my 20-yard shot.
Right.
It might not be that setup.
Yeah.
I might have to reset up and try this again, but he's responsive.
Yep.
And that's what I'm looking for, a responsive elk. I'll get him in the right situation.
It's not a sprint.
No.
Your season might be a marathon.
Right.
So be ready for the marathon, right? Okay, fantastic stuff, Barnum. I'm so glad you're here. We got more elk conversation coming up a little bit later in the show. Right now, I'm going to jump out for a quick break. We get back in, we are going to pick the brain of one Mr. Robert Kratzer. Okay, Bobby in my house, and he's been beating up on the Cowlitz River, and we also spent a little time in the drift boat down there this last week and had some moderate success. But I'm going to talk to Bobby about how the rest of this season opportunity is. It's already August. Is it too late? Did we miss out on it, or is it just beginning? What sections of the river are going to perform? How do flows affect it? What's going on with these tags sticking out of all these steelhead, right? We'll get into all that. We come back right here on Fish on Northwest.
An outdoor emporium, is the largest local outfitter in the Northwest since 1975, providing thousands of people affordable outdoor gear. This summer, make your next outdoor adventure more affordable by shopping at our warehouse-style pricing. We are a local Scotty dealer, offering sales, service, and repair. Located in Fife and Seattle, come visit us today. The outdoors await you.
It's easier than ever to browse homes and connect with an agent on the go with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate's mobile app. With the app, your home search is synced across all of your devices, so you can pick up your home search anytime, anywhere. Take full advantage of an enriched, mobile-optimized map search experience. Use location services to quickly find homes near you that match your search criteria. Draw your own map boundaries to find homes in a specific area, and apply layers to view school districts, neighborhoods, zip codes, and more. The app's user-friendly design makes it easier than ever to find a home you'll love. Narrow down your search results, save your search criteria, and save your favorite homes. You can browse your saved homes in a list view that puts photos and key details like price and square footage right at your fingertips. Or check out your saved homes displayed on the map.
Welcome back in studio, Dwayne England, Tommy Donlin, and of course Kelly Barnum. Boy, this is the A-team right here. I'm in the presence of greatness in the hunting and fishing realm. Huh?
Elk and tuna, baby.
Oh yeah, elk and tuna, all in the same room.
We're going to do a combo.
Want to introduce our next guest, no stranger to the show, friend for a long time, and a very upstanding individual that I have much respect for. Bobby Kratzer, Robert Kratzer, Fish in the Cowlitz River, Angler's Guide Service, and once again, you tend to keep on posting pictures with shiny steelhead coming out of a particular body of water. How you doing, buddy?
I've been doing awesome.
Yeah.
Doing awesome. Yep. Been a good year.
Yeah. So seems to be a pretty decent number of fish around the last month or so. We still got all of August to get through. Is it winding down? Is it cranking up? Where do you kind of suspect this run truly is at, and how's it performing?
Well, I'll be honest with you. The last about 5 days, it's slowed way down.
Mm-hmm.
It has slowed way down. Doesn't appear to be a lot of fish coming down below. I personally think it's just a little lull.
Okay.
I think we're gonna get another push here. Part of it is they've been jacking the water up and down, messing with stuff. Bunch of fish are there, and then they raise the water that pulls them all upriver. And so there appear to be a few more coming this afternoon down there. So I think we'll have another little push coming.
So you're not saying that just to lower the competition level on the river?
No.
I don't think Bobby really worries about the competition. Remember we were talking about that confidence thing?
Right.
Yeah, this guy pees out confidence in the morning. I mean, yeah.
That's what
we do have to remember. We'd have to remember it's the Cowlitz River, right? I mean,
right.
So a plethora of people there all the time. It really doesn't matter.
Exactly. What particular stretch have you been picking on? Have you dropped back down lower then when they drop the water down low, and do you think those fish might be holding lower, or you go up higher when they raise it, or how you playing that game?
If they raise the water up, then unfortunately you got to be within a quarter to a half a mile of Blue Creek.
Yeah,
that's just the reality of it. If you're down there, those fish just push right to there and they hang out there. And so you got to be right there. As the water level drops, then you can start sliding down the river and looking for them. And I mean from Blue Creek all the way to the mouth. I mean, anywhere in there. So as the water level drops, you can start sliding down. It confines the fish a little bit more. It slows their movement down. And then you can kind of pick away out there and find those guys slowly moving up river. So the water is down to 2,400 now. It dropped from 3,300 last night to 24 today. So that means the guy will start slipping down. So, I've been putting in a mission, and I fish up to, Blue Creek, and I just work my way down and all the way clean down towards Toledo. And then I'll start exploring my way, all over the place. I won't go towards Blue Creek much at 2,400. I just don't go up there much.
Yeah, well, the other day when we were there was 23 and some change, which is getting pretty low. As a drift boat guy, I don't really mind it because I'm going to just keep moving down river and pick pockets. And, we found them kind of like I did back in the day. You just find them in these smaller pockets, a little deeper run, kind of off to the side, where the sled's bombing up and down the river looking for fish, we'll push them into. And I'm going to run the bait diver and Coon-Shrimp program, Bobby. And, a lot of guys, and I know you are as well at times, bobber dogging with different types of baits or beads or whatever your presentation is. But the bobber dogging thing has, for a lot of guys, taken over via the side drifting. And but when you're a drift boat, I used to do the motor program, and I'd hit a long stretch, kick on that motor and go all the way back up and come down through it again. But to be honest, with an 8-horse kicker on the back of a drift boat and a lengthy run like that, it takes quite a while to get back up river. And I'm just not going to waste my time doing that anymore. I'm going to have confidence in my presentation as I go through those holes. I'm going to fish them really thorough with at least 3 rods out front, a couple bait divers and bait and a plug. And if I'm not getting them, they're not there. And I find when they are in those holes, man, they jump on them Coon-Shrimp like right now.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. And that's the thing I've always amazed by the Cowlitz and the comments from people is they don't look at that kind of stuff. They don't look at all the jet boats that are screaming up and down the river all the time, where those fish are being pushed to all day long.
Right.
I surprisingly find myself, going, all right, there's been a bunch of boats through here, and I'm going to slide over. And sometimes I'm casting, even when I'm bobber dogging, I'm casting like in 1.5 foot or 2 feet of water.
Yeah.
Because I know that's where the fish have been pushed to, away from all the boats that are running the deeper 3, 4, 5 foot slots.
Right.
Those fish just get tired of it and they just get pushed over. And no, I mean, there's so many places to fish on that river where those fish will go and hide that so many people miss. It's crazy.
Yeah, and really, I mean, When it comes to fishing rivers, I mean, the Cowlitz is considered a medium to larger river, and anytime that water drops lower, for me, I look at that as more opportunity because it is forcing those fish into designated pocket areas. When the water's up and running, those fish can just travel and feel secure. They're all over the place. I mean, they're literally all over the place, and you got to cover a lot of water to find them. So I like the lower water for a drift boat, albeit 2,300 is even getting a little low because there's some drifts that, unless I was out in the middle of the river where the boats were running up and down, was the only channel where those fish might be, because along the shorelines where I like to fish historically, there's just no current. Right?
Yep.
So there's no current, so it's like, well, we can't even fish this because I'm not going to waste my time out in the middle of the river because it'll be within 5 minutes I'll have a jet boat staring at me bow to bow, which ain't going to, So you got to kind of pick your poison. So what's been your bobber dogging setup? What are you dragging? Coon-Shrimp, eggs, beads? What's been getting it done for you?
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
And I'll be real honest with you. This is like the goofiest year that I've ever seen. When I say that is there is no consistency to what you're offering. There really isn't. I mean, you one day it's a Coon-Shrimp deal, the next day it's beads. You'll get some eggs. It just goes back and forth, and you cannot. Typically, when the water's a little higher and the water's a little cooler, those Coon-Shrimp, when you're bobber dogging, really take over. That's like the majority of things. As the water tends to warm up a little bit, your eggs and your beads take over. But this year, it's a crapshoot every single day. You go out there with the arsenal, and you fish until the fish tell you what they're going to grab. Right. So I mean, you just throw it all, and then you start seeing a pattern like, oh, they're biting beads. Oh, no. But the thing is, it's weird because that might be for 2 hours.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like nobody's catching anything, and then you see guy catching one, and you're looking, oh, he's fishing shrimp. And you switch over to shrimp, and you immediately start cooking fish.
Interesting.
I mean, so it's not it's a hour-to-hour, day-to-day deal. It's there's nothing that I can go up with and just say, okay, this is what we're using today. We're going to get them, because it's not been that consistent. If I had to pick one, I would say beads have been probably the bigger majority.
Yeah.
Has been a bead program. For sure.
What kind of beads are we talking here?
12 and 14 millimeters for me. Occasionally go down to a 10. I've been fishing some soft beads, but to be honest with you, the absolute best beads I've been using is Lured Beads by Randy Bales.
Oh, is that right?
He makes a hard floating bead.
Oh.
It floats.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a floating bead. And when you bobber dog those, you can fish the same bead. I mean, I had 4 people today, and I went through 3 liters the entire day.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Bobber dogging. Yeah. I put a bead on those people, and they fish the same bead the entire day.
And think back of all the years side drifting, how many liters you'd go through on a day of side drifting, right? I mean, the other question I wanted to ask you too, because so many of you guys who are guiding have swapped over for all the reasons aforementioned and even more on the benefits of bobber dogging. Have you noticed a increase in hookup to land ratio? With side drifting, a lot of people miss fish. But with bobber dogging, it seems like, that fish will grab it, that bobber helps kind of set the hook into that fish. And when they physically see that bobber move or do something, they're more apt to set the hook than just thinking it's a rock bouncing on that bottom when that lead's dragging, and it was actually a fish that they missed. So how's the hookup to land ratio? Any increase on the bobber dogging?
No, I would say it's actually worse.
Really?
For Dwayne.
Man, I would think it'd go the other way, yeah.
Well, here's the reason why. You first of all, most of us are running 12-foot bumpers.
Yep.
Right? So do you imagine they're off to the side, and you got a little loop of line on the water. And so I tell my people, you have between your loop on the water and your bead or your bait, because you're using I'm using a leader that's 4 to 6 feet long.
Yeah.
Right? And a 12-foot bumper. So now you're talking 16 feet. Plus you got a little loop of line on the water. A lot of times when that bobber starts to go, a lot of people just want to jerk.
Yeah.
You got 16 feet of slack in there. You can't pull far enough to actually penetrate
Can't build
the hook
density enough
and
to
pick
get there,
up the slack.
You got to start fishing them on 20-foot rods. What are you doing?
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Surf rods.
So my deal is I tell people, don't set the hook, just reel until you feel.
Yeah.
So as soon as
Reel
your bobber
until
goes
you
down,
feel.
just
Reel
start
until you
reel.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reel until you feel
That's
the
right.
fish, then set the hook. You'll get them most of the time. It's just a lot of people just have an inherited. My bobber went down. I'm jerking.
Set the hook. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just like you get a head shake, you get fish coming to the surface, and then they come off.
Well,
and you're like, you got to reel, guys, until you feel that.
It's nice to see nothing has changed from even back in the day when I was running drift boat trips and we were bobber dog. I bobber dogged all year long. I bobber dogged for Chinook, coho, chum, steelhead. Didn't matter, right? Because it was the easiest way for me working my drift boat to put clients on fish. And
exactly.
It didn't matter, Bobby. It was you'd preach it all day long. Yep, you missed another one. You got to reel till you feel. I want you to reel until you actually load that rod. Okay, bobber goes down, rod flies in the air. It's like, yep, you missed another one all day long. But you know, at least you're giving them the advice and the opportunity. And at the end of the day, they're going to put a few fish in the boat. So
now you see why all the people holding pictures on the video were girls.
Yeah,
women listen better.
They listen better, don't they? That's right. Good, very good point. And they actually follow through with what you've instructed them to do, right?
Yes.
Better shooters, too.
Hey, before we let you go, because we're coming up against a break, the tag program on the Cowlitz is one that we've called in a handful of tags and, give them the phone number for Tacoma Power, and then, of course, you give them the tag number on a recording. We're kind of advocating, hey, if you're a recreational angler and you get down there on the Cowlitz and you get that fish with those tags up by the dorsal fin, you also notice a hole punch in the gill plate. There's a reason to report those numbers. What do you know about that program?
So what it is, it's a hatchery. They basically come into the hatchery, they gill punch them, they tag them, they take them back down to I-5 and let them come through again. Mm-hmm. And the reason the tags are there is they want us to report them. The reporting does two things. Tells us how many of those recycled fish we're catching.
Right.
It lets the hatchery know when they're released, how long did it take that fish to get from I-5 back to the hatchery?
Yeah.
When we catch the fish. So one of the things you need to mention is that at all the boat launches, there's a box right there with little envelopes. All the boat launches, you have a little box with an envelope.
Yeah.
If you slide the tag in there and give them your name, the date you caught the fish, the location you caught the fish, your email address, your phone number, they'll actually email you a report of when that fish was in the hatchery, when it was released,
right, and
so forth. So it gives you information about the fish, and they'll send that to you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to call it in. You can just go to any takeout you go to. There's a box. Just put the tag in the box or in the envelope, drop it in the box, you're done.
Yep.
And so what they're trying to do is they want to know, like, how long those fish were there, how many of them, how long is it taking them to get back to the hatchery? Mm-hmm. How many of them are there some straying downriver?
Right. Which is a critical
they
point.
climb at I-5.
Yes.
Do any of them go downriver?
Right.
And then how long is it taking them? Are they getting back to the hatchery in 3 or 4 days? Are they taking a month? What is the process? So it's a great program for future hatchery programs. We're asking them about it for the peninsula.
Right.
Yeah. You get all your fish there. Well, why wouldn't you take those hatchery fish and run them back down?
Recycle.
If we can prove that those fish aren't residualizing, they're not staying in the system, they get back to the hatchery on a relatively firm time, they're not moving any other direction.
And they're not straying.
It's a program that we could use in a lot of hatcheries.
Absolutely.
And it would allow us anglers to have an extra opportunity. Hey, today I killed 4 fish. 3 of them were recycled.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That gave me the opportunity for 3 extra fish that I wouldn't have had before.
Yeah. Right. Historically, once those fish meet the hatchery, then they're done, right? And we don't get secondary and third waves of fish coming through. This gives us not only an extra opportunity, but think of the data that we're collecting and all the points you just mentioned. And the real huge one of the takeaways here that people need to pay attention to is if they can prove that a very low, if any, percentage of fish stray back downriver, that is just a huge win for hatchery production, recycling fish, and giving recreational anglers maximized opportunity to catch those fish within a certain stretch of the river. So it's a complete win here. So folks, if you're catching those hatchery fish on the Cowlitz or any other rivers that they institute this program, and you find them with tags and you're not sure of what it exactly is, go ahead and look for those boxes at the boat ramps for the information, and or get online, or there's a phone number on the tag for Tacoma Power. Call that number. It'll prompt you to leave that number that's on the tag as well. You have a phone number and a code number. You leave that number for the research project, and you're going to help everybody out. Bobby, can't thank you enough, buddy. Always appreciate you taking time with us. I know you're extremely busy, but always willing to talk, so appreciate it.
Not a problem. My pleasure, man. Anytime.
Yep. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.
Yep.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, Robert Kratzer, Angler's Guide Service. Look him up on Facebook, Instagram, and or just go simply to his webpage, anglersguideservice.com. Bobby's been doing it for over 35 years. Phenomenal human being and just a true advocate for the sport. All right, we're going to jump out. We come back. Tommy is on the hot seat.
Yeah, buddy.
I like to title this one, Tuna Talk with Tommy.
There we go. Fireside chat.
Yeah, fireside chat. Tuna Talk with Tommy. We come back right here, Fish on Northwest.
A Northwest favorite for almost 40 years, Arima boats are manufactured with pride right here in Bremerton, Washington. Arima Boats offers all of our boats with Honda outboard packages so that you can take full advantage of the reliability and 5-year top-to-prop warranty from your Honda outboard. With literally thousands of Arima boats on the water throughout the Pacific Northwest, Arima boats are a proven hull design that offers incredible fuel economy and all of the amenities that a serious angler is looking for. All Arima boats are built without any structural wood materials. That is why we back our boats with a lifetime warranty. All of our Arima boats are designed to maximize deck space while also providing ample seating. Contact us today at Arima Boats for all your boating needs and let us help you get out on the water.
Oh, goodness.
All right, we are back here in studio, Fish on Northwest. Dwayne England, Tommy Donlin, and Kelly Barnum. And things that are talked about during the break can't always be talked about during the live show.
Well,
that being
said that production was always the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
If there's a problem with this show, it's Josh's fault.
It's the production side of things.
It's
never the talent. Never the talent. It's always the production. IT's got some serious issues.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, my
anyway.
goodness.
All right, Tommy, this is Tuna Talk with Tommy.
Oh, and, that's very nice.
I like it. We kind of delved into this a couple weeks ago, and tonight we're going to pick your brain. You have 5 lures that you basically rely on when you are trolling in search of trying to locate tuna. Let's walk through that progression and how you come to that number.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, so the top 5 tuna lures, and I'm gonna start with this one. This one here is a 7-strand TC, which means tuna clone 200. The 2 indicates 2 ounces of lead in the head of this guy. I began my tuna career with this clone, and if you walk down any commercial boat, you're gonna see this clone, this very color, pretty much on every boat. This is a zucchini color. Zucchini, Mexican flag, purple, black. They come in a lot of different variations, but you know, this is one that, you know, when we encounter rough water out there, which is going to happen, it always runs true because it's got 2 ounces of lead, so it stays below the surface of the water. The tuna can key in on it, and it just runs really well. So that's number 1 right there.
Is that UV or glow or any type of properties in it?
No, that's the beautiful thing about tuna fishing is you don't really have to get into the glow.
You don't need all that.
You don't have to grab,
you're so high.
The gel and start slathering your lure.
Well, that's what I wondered, because that with those bright colors, it's not really mimicking anything. It's just giving the tuna something to key on.
Right. And you know what we usually do is, like, when it's bright and sunny, we're going to run bright colors.
Right.
And if it's like a little bit of overcast and they're having problems silhouetting the bait on the top, we'll go to a purple black. Or if they've been on squid really heavy, right, and this is just not catching, we'll try to throw like a petrolero color, which is kind of like a brown and an orange, or something out there to try to mimic or at least capture some of the color in what they're eating. But I mean, let's face it, most of the time these tuna that we're catching, these albacore, they're eating micro baits. And then once in a while they'll key in on a sari or a mackerel or something like that. So you're really just trying to get their attention. So this is number one. Number two is you shouldn't go anywhere without a zooker, right? Now this is a feather. So you'll see a lot of these are just, maybe plain just the vinyls, but this one's got a feather on it.
A zooker?
This is a zooker.
Yeah.
This is a zooker.
I keep one of them in my locker at work. Who doesn't have a zooker in their locker?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There you go. You shouldn't go anywhere without it.
Without your zooker?
Yeah. Now the thing that I'd like to point out here, this is an acrylic head. It's got some nice eyeballs on it, but the other thing is just on the rigging of it. The way that I rig these is this is a hook similar to what you use for kokanee, right? This is that double tuna hook number 20.
When I use kokanee for bait, sure.
Oh, okay. So
that's a little kokanee.
Yeah. He gives me kokanee jabs every show.
There's two trains of thought on this double tuna hook right here, and a lot of the guys, the commercial guys that are trolling for them day in and day out, and they're a 100% troll show. They're not throwing bait. They're not using other methods. You'll see that they don't have any barbs. Right. Because those guys, they're never stopping the boat, right?
Right.
They get over a school, they're going to keep going, right?
Gotcha.
And so they'll hook one, they'll throw it up on deck. There'll be like a little pin on the back deck, and the hook will wrap around that pin, and that tuna will fly right off the hook, and they literally just throw that lure back in the water, and they're back in business. Yeah. My program's a little bit different because what I'm doing 90% of the time, maybe more than 90% of the time, is I'm just trying to get the first one. And if I can get the first bite, then it's going to be a bait game after that.
Right.
And, early in the season is definitely time to troll, like July, early August. And then as that season progresses and rolls on, it turns into kind of like a run and gun method where you're looking for jumpers, you're seeing jumpers, you're seeing a bird, you're throwing bait, and then you're waylaying for an hour or more on a school of fish. But, in order to find those tuna, you'll troll a little bit to find them. Right. So this is number two. That's a zooker, pink and white. You can't beat pink and white. Can never go wrong with that. The third one on the list is it's a company in Southern California called Ballyhood, and this is an albacore all-star. This is a jet head. A lot of different styles on the jet head. It's a smaller profile than the TC200 or the zooker. And I like to run these behind spreader bars. And so spreader bar is not, a lot of people think spreader bar, they think, I'm halibut fishing. Not that spreader bar. We're talking like a nylon bar with 15 squids hanging off of it. And then this is what we call the chase bait right here. Right. Albacore All-Star. These things run great. They've got a chromed out head. Some of them have ports in the head, so you're putting a little bit of bubble trail back. And then, on the color, there's a couple things to think about in terms of color. There's two trains of thought with trolling for tuna. There's the Bob Franco method, which is like if you're trolling 5 lines, every single one of them is the same color. Because, when you're out in nature, you see a school of bait fish, right?
They're all the same color.
You don't typically see, a herring, and he's hanging out with his buddy, the sardine, and then their other buddy, Mr. Anchovy, shows up, and they all swim together, right? And so that's the Bob Franco method, and kind of, and the thing with tuna is that you're never fishing for just one, right? So when you're trolling, you're looking to hook up, 4 rods, 5 rods at a time. And the thought there is that if you're providing an equal opportunity troll bait, then they can't choose like, that one looks better than this one, so I'm going to eat that one but not that one. All the same, they eat it, right? Now, again, with my program, I'm usually running 4 different lures, 4 different colors, because I don't care if I just hook one tuna, because I'm going to spin the boat and throw bait, then we'll drift over them. But this is a great troll lure, especially behind a spreader bar. We'll put it about 18 inches behind that spreader bar, and it just kills a lot of fish. So that's number 3. I'm going to go over here and kind of switch it up a little bit. This here is number 4, and the thing that this is a Rapala X-Wrap Magnum in the 20 size. This is a purple black, and the thing to remember is these tuna, they have very little limits in terms of the depth that they're willing to reside in. And a lot of people think, well, they hang out on the top 5 feet of water, but that's not always the case. And when you've got a thermocline that's down maybe 20 to 30 feet, those fish really, on some days, don't like to break through that thermocline and that top warm layer of water, especially when we're hitting, surface temps of 67 degrees, 68 degrees.
Right.
And so they're going to hang deep. And so a lot of times we'll switch it up and we'll troll these diving plugs, and that'll give us another dimension to the spread that we're trolling behind the boat. And when you can get it down in that thermocline or maybe just below that thermocline, you're not requiring them to do as much work to get up and eat that lure. So a good number 4 right here is an X-Wrap Magnum. These ones have been switched out to, the single hooks in order to prevent any treble hooks in your face, in your hand, and your arm flying around the boat. And number 5 here, we have the tried and true traditional cedar plug, and this one has got battle scars on it. And this is a plain, so it's just plain cedar. There's no finish on it. If I had to choose a color, it would just be this one. It would be
no
plain.
Kidding.
Yep.
Just because what? Is it just a shadow that they see? Just
yeah.
I mean, just against the surface light, just a silhouette, and just something moving at a fast rate of speed.
Yep. If I'm going to go with a colored cedar plug, it's going to be black and purple.
What's the weight on that?
So you got about 1.5 ounces of lead up front. Yeah. This is a 6-inch cedar plug. That's the typical size we run. They make 4s, they make 8s, but we're typically always running a 6-inch cedar plug. And in terms of the location in the spread, the cedar plug usually gets the shotgun rod, right, or the way back. It's the one that you put in the middle, right down the center.
Yeah.
And you really want this one kind of where that white water in the wash kind of peters out and it starts to clean up a little bit, but it's not totally clean.
Yeah.
Right? That's where you're putting the cedar plug.
Interesting.
The diving plugs, it doesn't really matter because you're down below the wash.
Yeah.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what the surface activity is, but because you have something that's diving, you want it in the corners, right? So you're gonna run a diving plug or a planer off the corner because it's going to stay down.
Yeah.
And then over the top of your diving plugs, if you're running them on the corners, that's where you're running your clones, your Zookers, your ballyhoods, your jet heads, that kind of thing. Now, the other thing is when you run these clones on the top, you still have to pay attention to where you're running them behind the boat and where they are in the wake. If you think about it, every boat creates a natural wake that just resides behind the boat. You want these lures to sit in the trough. Because if you think about it, you're the tuna swimming underneath the boat and you look up. If you've got it in the trough or maybe on the leading edge of that swell as it faces the boat, those fish can see the lure. If you put it on the back side, they have trouble seeing it and the lures don't run right. Sometimes they'll skip, they'll skitter, they don't stay in the water.
Yeah.
When you're down in the trough, you're in that low position and they run really, really good in that low position.
How fast are we trolling this stuff? How fast?
6 knots, 6.5 knots.
No kidding.
And the other thing that I would offer on that note, that's a good point, is if there's tuna in the area, there's tuna being caught, maybe you see them on your sonar, but they're not coming up and you're eating your troll lures, slow down. Okay. Even to the point where even though it's only 2 ounces of lead, you can get the TC 200 to sink out a little bit. And if you slow down, it'll start to sink. You re-engage. Now all those baits are coming up and it's like they're trying to escape. And sometimes that'll trigger that bite that you're looking for.
Makes sense. Good stuff, man. Covered a gamut of plugs. Tommy's top five in the realm of On the Tuna Troll. So good stuff. Appreciate that. We are going to jump out for a quick break. Had a few questions on here. We'll try to get to them. Real quick break. We come back. Bait lab time because it is 7 p.m. Like to do our bait lab at 7 p.m. for consistency, so you always know. We're going to actually go through, because we've had a number of questions, Tommy, as it relates to the Coon-Shrimp program, how to rig them, how to fish them, how to present them. And so we will couple that in with how to cure them, which we've done previously a couple times. We'll put that link in the show later on, and or as I release the how-to. It'll have the link on the curing process for the Coon-Shrimp. Tonight, we're going to really break it down on rod, line, rigging, how to pin them to your hooks, how to fish them, how to get them out in front of your drift boat or back bounce them off your sled. Basically, basic rigging, how to rig coon shrimp for summer steelhead. We come back right here after this break on Fish Hunt Northwest.
What if there was a smarter way to search for your new home? Introducing the Better Homes and Gardens real estate website and mobile app. This revolutionary new search tool puts your needs first. Narrow your search to what matters most to your family, like school data, school districts, and even walk scores. Get easy access to your local affiliated agent, as well as unique and local insights about neighborhoods and properties directly within the app. With synced and saved preferences, you'll always pick up wherever you left off. Get your smarter search started today with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate.
Hey, welcome back, Fish on Northwest. We are here in the bait lab for this week's installment of a how-to brought to you by Max Lure. Everything that we talk about often when it relates to, kokanee and walleye and trout and such, definitely check out maxlure.com for all your needs. Okay, with that, we are talking summer steelhead and coon-shrimp. One of my favorite ways to go after them, basically presenting them with a bait diver, and or you can actually bobber dog them as well. Again, the recipe and how to cure them and the cure that I rely on that I've been doing tried and true for years, we will put that link in the show notes afterwards, link it to this how-to so you'll have the full picture on how to get them ready and then how to fish them. So tonight we're going to talk about how to rig these things. Again, we're running them on a plug rod, okay, 7.5 foot. These are my summer plug rods. It's a 6 to 15 rating, one-piece rod, 7 foot. Fantastic little plug rod to put out in front of the drift boat. Now you can use them on a sled as well as you back them down the river. Either or works. 7 foot rod, we spool it up with a line counter reel because it's real important when I deploy these out, whether I'm fishing plugs or bait divers, that they're all equal out in front of the boat. You're putting up that wall of resistance. You're either going to force those fish to get mad and come strike your offering, and or with all plugs and or divers and bait being equal distance from the boat, you're going to have that wall that's either going to make them nervous and push them back to the point where they have to either turn and run down through the tail out, which they're not going to do. Most times during the day, they're going to come after that lure and strike it. The nice thing about these coon shrimp, I don't know what it is, the look of the shrimp, the way we fish them straight on, and those beady little eyes are staring that fish down, it flat out pisses them off and they get aggressive. The takedowns are fantastic. So line counter reel is important. If you can't, don't have one of those or can't afford one, simply take your braided line and put a mark in at 30, 35, 40 feet, depending how far out you want to fish them. Now, when I get into lower water and the water is pretty darn clear, I'm not afraid to run these 45, 50 feet out in front of the boat. 45 on average is typically where I land, and it seems to work pretty well. I will put a 10 to 12 foot top shot on there. I'm running 45 pound braid on this. Not that I need that strength, but the diameter and the way it performs is what I like off of my plug rods. It doesn't have, people always complain like you never run braid on your plug rods because of the buoyancy. The narrow diameter of your braid cutting through the water is a moot point. The buoyancy doesn't matter. The diver and the plugs take it down just fine. So I run braid with a top shot for a little extra stretch and give. That's going to be about 10 or 12 feet. That's going to be 20 or 25 pound monofilament. Don't use fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon is a larger diameter. It's stiff. It also sinks, which is fine when you're running plugs because you are, presenting a lure that sinks, but it's just too, it can be too brittle, too wiry, and if it gets nicked, it can be a little bit susceptible to breakage. So I like to use a little, just a standard monofilament with a little bit of stretch in there. To that, I'm going to actually tie into a dual lock on the end of the top shot. Okay, we're just going to put a dual lock on there, and that's it, because everything else clips on. It's modular, it's easy to put on there, and it's easy to remove. So I'm going to put on my diver. Now I like to use these Brad divers, and I'm going to show you the difference here. This is a Magnum and this is a standard. Your Magnum is going to go 9, we'll say ballpark 10, 9 to 20, 22 feet in depth depending on current. Your standard Brad's diver is going to go 8 to 14 feet, I believe is what it'll say on the specs. And for me, it is more oftentimes than not, I stick with natural colors. I like to run the flat blacks. These are not a shiny or a gloss black that's reflecting sunlight. It actually absorbs the sunlight into it, makes it look like a natural shadow in the water. I find that the flat blacks in the clear with the black bill over years has outperformed all the other ones. You can run the reds and the blues and the greens and the flashy colors if you like. That at times can be an attractant to draw them in to see what's going on, but because steelhead are visually stimulated, I just find that the natural colors in black with summer steelhead and clear water gets the job done time and time again. I don't necessarily like to run like your jet divers. These are a jet 10, which is going to take it down to 10 feet. You can run the 20s if you want. But for me, I like the rapid rod action that happens when you're running those brads. They wiggle back and forth much like a plug. You get a lot of rod tip indication of how that plug is running. When I'm running a jet diver and it's so smooth in its cadence and doesn't move around a whole lot, it's harder to tell at times if in fact it's hung up, because you can actually hang it up and the line in the water still puts a little pressure against the tip of your rod, and that rod tip will stay loaded up, and as you creep down river, you're basically passing where it's hung up and you may not even realize that. So especially if you're just beginning or want to give this a try, I would recommend using something like a Brad's that's going to give you a lot of tip vibration. You can watch exactly what the tip of that rod's doing, and you know that the plug is working all the time or that diver's working all the time, so your presentation is moving downriver and not hung up. When it does get hung up, the rod tip goes idle, the line goes flat, the rod goes flat. It's a pretty easy indicator that it's hung up. So you simply just reel, lift up, get the bill out of the rocks, redeploy it, send it back down, and you're fine. So to that, I will run about a 5-foot leader to a dual hook setup. And again, it's all modular. I actually take a dual lock and put it underneath the diver so that everything just clips on. I clip on there a B-chain swivel, and the purpose for that, if I run a barrel swivel on here, when I connect that to the diver, and there is a chance at times that that bill would come in contact with your leader, okay? And these things get pretty banged up on the rocks. They get a sharp edge on them. So if I run that to a barrel swivel and snap it, that is definitely at some point going to come in contact and rub. That is creating a break point that you don't want to deal with. So what you do is you put that on a B chain, and in no way, shape, or form will that bill ever come in contact with your leader. It puts it out there far enough that even if that thing finds itself in contact, it's going to roll on that B chain and not cut your leader. So little reference point that you want to make sure you utilize. A 5-foot leader to a dual hook, and I have now, as of late, switched to using these Bomac style hooks, and for good reason. I like the way that this particular hook sits flat on the back, which puts it basically flat against the Coon-Shrimp as it sits, and it allows that hook to stick up out of that shrimp. So it has a nice flat back to that style of hook. And again, it's going to allow that point of that hook to sit up and out of the meat. And then I put that stinger hook on, okay? And that I've switched that to this Fusion. It's a number 2 octopus hook. It's got that pink coating on it. I went to this size 2. I used to run a size 4, okay? Size 4 is a little bit thin wire, and it's kind of a small hook, and you can get by with summer steelhead for sure. But I've gone to this size 2. It's a little thicker hook. But I know for certain if for some reason I get that fish just on that number 2, that hook is not going to bend out. That Fusion hook by Berkeley in this number 2 pink is a very strong hook, and I've landed fish on this solely just on that, not even getting the number 1 into the fish. So again, I like the sickle hook because of the flat back and how it allows the tip of the hook to sit up and out the meat. Again, if you have followed me for a few years, you know that I run a straw on top of the hook, and I also couple that with an easy egg or some type of small, soft plastic bead, the size 8 millimeter on average. And for me, that just comes down to using an easy egg or some type of soft, even scented type egg on there holds the straw in. So how do we create this leader and make that all work? Well, it's pretty simple. I'm going to set that over here. First and foremost, I tie these hooks anymore, kind of like I do my kokanee rigs, okay? I got the sickle hook sitting there, and this is actually 30 pound, that is 30 pound fluorocarbon. And the reason I use 30-pound fluorocarbon, I'm not worried about the strength, but because it's like a wire. The wireness of this hook allows that, when that is sitting in that shrimp, that number 2 sticks right out in front of the head on that shrimp. And because it sits right out front, when those fish come up and grab that shrimp, if I was using, say 12 or 15 pound monofilament, that number 2 hook is basically going to be down, all right? But you can see the springiness. I'll do that down here. You can see how springy that fluorocarbon is. Again, it's like wire. It's super strong, and I just like the way it forces that hook right out in front of them, sticks it right down their throat. Fish we hooked the other day, that number 2 is literally down in their throat because it just goes straight in as they grab a hold of that shrimp. So I pre-tie that, and then it's really simple. You take your 15-pound leader, and because you've cut your egg loop back on the back side of your finish on your knot, your eye on your sickle hook, your number 1, is wide open. I can literally lay that leader on there and do a multi-wrap, just like tying another mooching rig or just an egg loop type knot on the top of this. I'm going to put about 4 to 6 wraps on top of that, and I'm going to come back through and I'm going to finish that wrap out like I would on any egg loop. I'm going to give it 3 or 4 wraps underneath that. And again, I'm going right over the top of that previous wrap, okay? Now we're just going to draw that on through, keep it off of my other plugs, okay? Going to grab my pliers, straighten that out, cut that little tab off, as we always do. Basically, this is no different than how I tie a double hookup rig on my kokanee lures, okay? Believe it or not, Tommy, kokanee. So now I have a 30-pound braid separation on those 2 hooks, sticking out there on a wire and very, very strong. And I've tied that to a 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, and it works fantastic. Now, all I do is I take these plastic straws and I slide them down over the hooks. I got this one all jumbled up now, but I'll slide that straw down over the hook, and then I push the Easy Egg on so that it basically holds that straw down on the shrimp once I get it all rigged up. Okay, so that is how it finishes. Then I tie that barrel swivel on the top of that leader, and we're good to go. So really, to pin these on here then, and it's real simple, we're going to take the Coon-Shrimp, okay? We're going to look at the head, the carapace is all intact, we got nice firm body meat. We're going to stick that number 1 into the meat, and we're going to roll that hook out through the carapace, allowing that number 2 hook to come right there to the top of that shrimp. Now, as I said, the back of this sickle hook is nice and flat. See how much that hook sticks up out of the top? That is a game changer, the way that elevates, okay? Now, instead of multi-wrapping this tail, which every time I wrap this, it makes a cut point on that tail meat, I can simply put a single half hitch around the tail, and I suck that right up to the eye of the hook. I'm going to straighten this tail out and capture all them legs. I'm going to slide the straw down. This is just a clear plastic straw, believe it or not. Used to get these at Costco in the food line, or anywhere you can get beverages like that. You just grab your plastic straws. Now we push that onto the tail. Look how it straightens that shrimp out. Okay, hook is nice and straight, shrimp is nice and straight, and to secure that straw in place, I slide that Easy Egg or that rubber bead down, and there you go. That thing sits straight in the water, and it fishes out in front of that diver just like that. It presents to them fish going down river, swimming back and forth, just irritating the snot out of those steelhead. They see that whole shrimp coming at them. If you cure them up properly, excuse me, use my brine process or whatever cure process you prefer, as long as you have confidence and durability in your shrimp as you're presenting them, you can take them through a whole drift. The heads don't fly apart. The carapace doesn't come off. You're fishing a whole shrimp, and that is key. You can't bait dive just a tail down there. The productivity and the amount of success is going to greatly diminish. You need to be fishing whole shrimp. You need to be fishing whole shrimp on a dual hook, and you need to force them down the throat of these fish on bait divers. You can use this same exact setup, shorten the leader by about a foot, and on your bobber dogging setup, you can use the straw, you can use the Easy Egg. Don't worry about putting the bead chain up here. Simply hook it to your swivel, run about a 4-foot leader on the straw and the Easy Egg, and the durability of your shrimp, bobber dogging style, works just as well. hopefully that we kind of got through that rather quick. A lot of components here, but it's pretty easy to follow. You're just simply tying leaders that are going to make those shrimp fish nice and flat and out in front of the fish with a durable hook setup that's not going to fail you at any point. All right, with that, we're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. We are back in studio, more elk talk with our buddy Barnum, who has graced us with his presence. Tommy's excited because we're talking tuna, we're talking steelhead, we're talking elk. We're back in studio right here at Fish on Northwest after this break. Hey, we are back in studio. Hopefully you picked up a few points on the Coon-Shrimp. One of my favorite ways to go after summer on steelhead. It's been a passion of mine for years. I've had my recipe out there for a long time, and I just stick with it. You know, when you find something, Barnum, that works, or Tommy, you just stick with it, right? And I've had no reason to change that recipe. Those shrimp we were fishing the other day, I cured up in 2017. Wow. And they were fishing fantastic. They hold on. I don't have to like multi-wrap them with magic thread and all that stuff. Right. We just put them on and run them, and it works great. Now,
I think that means you need to fish more. Just saying.
That's probably true.
It depends how many jars you cure up on any given season. Have you seen my bait fridge? You never know when I might make a run at it, right? Like 22 days in a row. I'm out of shrimp. How did that happen? How did we not see this coming? Anyway, all right. Enough of the steelhead. Enough of the damn Tommy Tuna talk. Let's get down to brass tacks. We're here to talk elk with Kelly Barnum. Scouting for elk, Barnum. Now, you're busy working, right? Although you do take time this time of year to start kind of putting your plan together. Yeah. You know, what's it mean? You hear guys talking, oh yeah, I got out last night, did a little scouting. Tommy, huh? Mm-hmm. What am I doing? I have two secret weapons. Number one is normally blackberry picking. You know, I love to go a little wild blackberry. There you go. And that's a great time to be out looking for elk. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's when they're, you know, it's just like deer. This time of year, it's like everywhere I look, there's deer. How come there's no deer in October and November? Right. It's just the same thing. They're comfortable this time of year. The bulls are out in their bachelor groups, and you can find some bachelor groups and find some elk. I don't focus on where I see the bulls this time of year as much as I'm focusing on where I'm seeing cows. Mm-hmm. Because the cows are in their routine. They're going to do what they're going to do. The bulls are just, I mean, bulls are bulls. Yeah. Once that velvet comes off and they go from a 12-year-old boy to an 18-year-old man, they're not going to be in the same place they were. You know? It happens that quick, huh? Yeah. And it happens that quick, and it happens every single year. Yeah. And they're not going to be in the same place they were when they were, you know, worried about getting their protein and their nutrients for antler growth. They're going to be worried about where the ladies are. Right. And so they're going to be in that target-rich environment, as Maverick like to say. Yep. There we go. And so that's what we're focusing on. The other secret weapon I have is I have a 16-year-old son that likes to bear hunt. And man, has he been giving me tons of elk information the last few days. Has he really? Oh, yeah, it's been great. Oh, I seen 6 bulls up here. I seen 2 bulls over there. It's like, oh, this is great. You got your pointer out there. My wife even looked at me and goes, see, scouting's overrated. And this is true. And I will agree a little bit on that sense that because I'm a bugler. That's what I like to do. I mean, I do very little cow calling. Right. I do a lot of bugling. I can vouch for that. Right.
scouting really for me is somewhat overrated in the sense that I tend to know where elk live because I've been hunting the same areas for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So I know where those elk like to live. So if I know if I continually go back to that spot, I continually try to raise a ruckus, sooner or later a bull's going to be there and he's going to pop off. So, I mean, that's kind of the things I focus on. This year is going to be a little bit different. You know, I mean, when we talk about like, you know, early in the season tactics, I mean, if you're talking Oregon's going to open late August. So that's a completely different beast than what Washington's going to be this year. When Washington opens up in the end of the second week of September, like
they're already in the rut.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking full-blown elk rut in Washington, where the Oregon opener is going to be maybe even some bulls still in velvet.
Yeah,
you know, that doesn't mean that those bulls that are still in velvet aren't going to be responsive to calls. I mean, I've literally seen with my own eyes a 5x5 beautiful bull just light up. I mean, full velvet, screaming, going nuts, looking to kick butt, and he ain't rubbed an inch of velvet. So, I mean, the velvet doesn't necessarily dictate, you know, what the testosterone level is in that bull at the time. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking Oregon, if I'm hunting Oregon the first week or two, I'm probably keeping my bugle to a minimum. Probably a lot of cow calling. There's bulls that, you know, they're not herded up yet. They're still trying to figure out, you know, where the ladies are, who I can slide in on, who I'm going to have to fight to get a piece of. I mean, and so they're still trying to feel things out. And I really feel like, say, through like September 7th, that just kind of being gentle, just kind of maybe adding some, you know, some light bugling in with a little bit of cow call really coaches them bulls a little bit better. You know, as we start to get into the middle of the month, the September 10th, 11th, 12th, and even in, you know, through the 20th, like, it's time. Like, I'm rock and roll.
So you'd say that early season, it's like a grade school dance, right?
Yeah,
Sixth grade, you know, the boys are on one side, the girls are on the other. And, and there's that one boy that's like, oh, you know, maybe I should dance. But he's not quite sure. Right. And so you just want to kind of coax him over. Like, hey, you know, you can dance a little.
I feel like I'm learning a little about your past, Tommy.
and then the Bible comes in between you.
Everything is a feeling out process, right? I mean, that's every day. Every bowl, as soon as I get an answer, I'm going to feel him out. What did he answer? Did he answer the bugle? Did he answer the chuckle? Did he answer a couple little cow whines? Like, what did he answer? And then as I try to figure out how to close the distance on this bull, I'm going to figure out what seems to be his cup of tea. And then I'm going to focus on that. I hear a lot of people talk about mimicking, you know, make all the sounds he's making. I mean, to me, it depends on what I think he's responsive to. I mean, if I rip out a big old hairy bugle and he just pounds it, like, that's what he's getting. He's getting a full dose of nothing but big, mean bugles. You know, if it's a chuckle, then we'll go down there and we'll chuckle till we don't want to chuckle anymore. I mean, that's what we'll do, whatever it takes.
Is your setup the same? Like, when you bring him into that kill box or the kill room, right, where you've got your lane and you're set up, does that part change at all depending on how they're responding? Or is that pretty much all?
For me, it's all just like way super aggressive. Way super aggressive. Like, I'm not one to sit back and wait. So kind of how the routine goes, I'm gonna do my locate bugles. I'm gonna bugle off landings, ridge tops, into drainages. I'm really big on bugling into drainages. Like, I might be on a ridge top, I'm gonna bugle into the drainage this side 10, 15 times, nothing. I'm gonna walk over to the other side and I'm gonna bugle into it 10, 15 times. And I might go back to the other side and do it again. You know, just to let him know that I'm up here, I'm fired up, that's my presence. Once I get a bull to answer, and I can pinpoint, I may do 2 or 3 more locate bugles so I can pinpoint where he's at. Once I pinpoint where he's at, it is how fast can I close that distance to inside 100 yards. And I mean, it's literally sprinting down that hill, making as much noise as I can, breaking sticks, like literally on purpose. Most people are wanting to, I'm looking for stuff to break off trees.
There's no sneak attack here.
These are elk.
These are elk. I mean, when you hear a 700-800 pound animal going through the woods angry, he makes noise.
They're not quiet.
They can sneak when they want to, but at the time that they're looking for an encounter, they're not sneaking.
So if you give out that locate bugle, and you got a bull down at the end of the drainage, he answers back. But you also know that thermal is going downhill towards that bull. How far off are you trying to shift before you go down?
I may stay, if he's down on the drainage side of that, I might stay on that finger ridge and even the back side of it and try to get all the way around him and come up from the bottom side. Once I've pinpointed, it's all about wing.
Yeah.
I don't care what sounds you're making, how camouflaged you are. If you ain't got the wind, you lose.
Yep.
That's just it. That's their one main thing is the nose.
Yeah.
I mean, their eyesight, I think people give elk way too much credit for their eyesight. I mean, we talk about in nature all the time, like the bigger the animal, the worse their eyesight. I mean, you look at bears, they have terrible eyesight. Moose have terrible eyesight.
Yeah.
Like elk are the same way. They're really good at picking up movement. I mean, if you're moving, they're going to catch you. But if you're holding still, I really don't think they can pick you out. I mean, even if you're wearing that orange hat, they can't pick you out between that and a bush.
Squirrels can see for miles.
Right.
As can turkeys.
Right.
Turkeys, yeah, for sure.
Turkeys for sure.
I don't know about squirrels. But
I'm going to get that wind in my favor. I'm going to make sure I'm going to try to close the distance as close as I know I can without being spotted moving. Then I'm going to set, and then I'm going to challenge him. And by challenging, I'm not just going to blow a bugle and hope to God. I mean, I'm going to make every elk, every noise an angry elk would make. I'm going to bugle. I'm going to break logs. I'm going to rake trees. I'm going to bark. I'm a mad elk. I'm looking to come in, take your cows, and I want you to challenge me.
I think a lot of people struggle with they bugle and they hear the bull answer back. And, they close the distance, right? But maybe they only move 100 yards and the bull is still 600 yards away.
Yes.
And I think for a lot of the novice archery hunters, like myself included, you don't know, really how close do you get? How do you know when to stop and set up and try to pick your lane?
And I will say that comes from just being around elk and that gut feeling. Number one, it's situational because that situation is fluid. How far can I see? What's the terrain? If I'm in a wide open timber patch and that bull's below me or above me and he can see 100 yards, I probably should stop at 110 yards. If I'm in thick reprop where I can only see 15 yards, I should probably stop at 20 yards. We've literally had bulls bugling and been pushed in and know that bull's only 15, 20 yards away, but I don't have a shot here.
Right.
So the only hope I have is to get closer and close at the 10 yards and then let out a chuckle or something like that. Next thing you know, you got a bull in your lap.
Yeah.
And that's just what you have to do. It's just being super aggressive. For me, probably most of the time, overly aggressive. I probably screw up a lot of elk that if I would have slowed down a little bit. But, I know that I'm going to live to hunt another day. That bull's going to live to hunt another day. And if I'm aggressive and that tactic works that time, that bull's coming in, he's coming in hot, eyes rolled back in the head, it's a done deal. And, as the season progresses, the number one thing I would say is, everybody loves it. Oh, it was 80 degrees, so I was back at the restaurant having breakfast at 9:30. No.
That is not comprehend.
We wait 352 days for the chance to go hunting for 13 or 14 days.
Right.
We're going to do that from 2 hours before daylight until 2 hours after dark, and we're going to grind. And we're going to blow that bugle until we hate blowing the bugle. I've literally canker sores in the mouth, blisters on the tongue, and I'm still like, oh my God, this hurts, but I'm going to blow it. And because you're looking for, it takes one.
Just one.
I have a little motto, that bull that bugles at noon always dies.
Yes.
Always dies.
True story.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, put that on a t-shirt.
And it is.
You bugle at noon, you die.
Right. Yeah. When they're up moving around, the cows are moving around, he's fired up, he's been chasing cows all night, he's been smelling estrus all night, he's trying to keep his cows corralled, he's jacked up, and then he goes in and lays down for a little bit, the cows all lay down, and then for whatever reason, something drives him, I need to get up. I need to get up, I need to scent check my cows, I need to move around a little bit. That's the bull. That he's scent checking cows because he's on his feet, he's not sleeping, he's only thinking about one thing, and that's that I got 20 cows and 8 of them are coming into estrus today, and I got to make sure I get mine and nobody else gets in.
Right.
And those are the bulls you want to find.
Like you said, he just turned 18, he's got some work to do, so
Yeah. Hopefully he turned like 24, 25.
Okay. Yeah, good point. Great stuff as always, Barnum. You walk us through that progression. It's always on point, man. You're just so dialed in your accomplishments too. How many bulls with your bow?
A lot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
20 something. Anyway.
I don't know, almost unreal. Yeah, it's been very few years without one lately.
Yep.
Knock on all the wood I can find.
I'll help you out here.
You done good. You done good. All right. Fantastic. We're going to jump out for a quick break. We come back. What do we got going on? Oh, recipe of the week.
Let's do it.
It is crab season.
Yeah.
People are getting crabbies.
Yeah.
There's some, you can boil them and season them up and eat them right out of the shell, crack them and, do whatever. Or you can take a little Chef Kelly stroll and do up some soupe and kind of see how this all turns out. Amazing recipe. He did this last time he was here. It's phenomenal. Definitely a game changer when it comes to prepping and getting your crab for company coming over for dinner. It is something to behold. Recipe of the week with Chef Kelly and Sheri in the kitchen. We come back right here on Fish Hunt North.
Come out of break of night, the pink skies waving goodbye. She come out of break of night. Lately I've been thinking about the end of time and whether I could write a song so true that you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Fish Hunt Northwest. We're here in the kitchen for the recipe of the week with Chef Kelly. As usual, I see you have a lot going on.
Yes, we're going to make an appetizer called Dungeness Crab Sopes with a red chili crema.
Sopes with a red chili crema.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, sopes are this right here. This is so what it is the same stuff you would make tamales with. You would use masa. But we're going to make it a little more like Play-Doh texture.
That's not
and then
masaca?
No, not masaca. Oh my God. I can't work in these conditions.
Oh geez, okay. All right, I'll try to do better next time, Chef.
Okay, so let's make our masa. So the masa, each one's kind of a little bit different. This is a dry powder, and you're just going to add some water and a little bit of salt, and there you go. And what we're shooting for is kind of like a Play-Doh texture. You can see it's kind of firm, just like that. Okay.
Play-Doh that Harper could eat.
Yeah, you could eat it raw.
We don't want to go that. Maybe we won't have her help.
Yeah, right.
Trying to get her not to eat that stuff.
So usually what I do is I kind of press it together to make it come together first, and then I kind of work on the edges. Okay. So you want to really exaggerate that edge, because when you fry it, it kind of gets knocked down because the center kind of tries to puff up. You'll see what I mean.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of don't want any cracks. That's just cracks are no bueno.
Bueno.
No bueno.
No bueno. Bueno.
Okay. Now you can go to the Mexican market and buy sopes already made. I'm not a big fan of them. I like making my own.
Of course you do, Chef.
And to pick them up, you just use your knife.
Wow.
And there you go.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. We're going to go ahead and start frying that guy up.
Okay.
Right there. Okay, so while that's frying, we're going to work on our Dungeness crab salad. So I have about 1/4 pound of picked Dungeness crab meat.
Okay.
And today we are not going to use mayonnaise with our crab meat. We're going to do something a little bit different.
Oh.
And we're going to use about a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Make sure we season.
Salt.
I use kosher salt.
Kosher salt.
Okay. About 2 tablespoons of red bell pepper. Just want a little bit of color, yeah.
Yep.
About a tablespoon of diced cilantro. And we'll just do like a teaspoon and a half of of lime juice.
Lime juice.
Okay.
You're making crab salad.
Yes.
Yes.
1 shallot, finely diced, or brunoise is what's really called. Yes, that's what it's called.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
You know, you could throw out anything, and I believe you.
Okay.
When it comes to cooking, Chef.
I've seen the
Only
Bigfoot.
when it comes to cooking.
Okay, so I like a lot of avocado, so we're going to add it in at the end so we don't make guacamole out of this thing. And
Show
just
them what that looks like.
All right, nice color in there. A little lighter than, adding, mayonnaise in there.
Right.
A little healthier. How's our sope look?
It's coming up in the middle. Like you said, puffing a little bit.
Yeah, he's almost there.
Okay.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, so our red chili is going to be guajillo. Yeah, that's pronounced guajillo. The G is.
I'm surprised you didn't ask me to pronounce it first. Thank you.
I'm being nice nowadays. Okay.
Well,
okay.
I was reading the back of this. See?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So just take your chilies and kind of break them open and dump out your seeds, and then you're going to boil them in about a cup of water until they're soft. Then puree them and then strain it. Make sure you strain it so it's nice and smooth, just like this.
Because the skin is
the
not
skin's
good.
tough.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can get these just in your grocery store in the Mexican aisle.
Yep,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to make our red chili crema. That guy's already done. Yeah, if you could put him in there and put some salt on him. Okay, so we're going to call it 3 tablespoons of the red chili paste. Okay, and then about 1/3 of a cup of sour cream. You can also use Mexican sour cream. It's also called crema. But today we're just using regular sour cream.
Oh, I put a hole in that one.
Oh,
good thing you made some other ones.
I can't take you anywhere.
I know it. You can't trust me with this stuff.
Okay, just like a teaspoon of lime juice. We'll add a little bit of cilantro for color.
Yeah, and just so that they know.
And make sure you season it too.
When you made these earlier, those ones that we cooked, you put them in here.
Yeah, if you want to get ahead and make some, make sure that you cover them with a wet, damp paper towel.
Okay.
And then wrap them up, because if they dry out, they get too crispy and not crispy in a good way.
Okay.
Kind of thing, okay?
Yeah.
So. All right.
Okay.
And there's our red chili crema. Let's just taste it first.
Okay.
Make sure that we got salt and. Oh, that's delicious.
Of course.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Okay, we're gonna put just a little bit down in the middle, act as our kind of glue. There, like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That looks horrible, I know.
Oh, can't wait to dig into that one. All of them, I guess.
Right?
Yes.
Just something different from your typical, mayonnaise-based crab salads. So we'll put a little bit extra, a little bit around. Okay.
I'm keeping this fork really close.
You sure now?
Yep.
You said you're a keto,
Okay, I'll just have the crab salad.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to watch you.
That's how I usually go about it, right?
Right? Okay, guys. So this is our crab salad sopes with red chili crema. It's delicious. A really easy appetizer. You can do it.
Yeah,
and
quick and easy.
Some people will use this as an entree too.
Oh yeah, I would.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and dig in, and we're going to shoot it back to you guys in the studio.
Lately I've been thinking about the end of time and whether I could write a song so true.
Hey, welcome back in studio. Tommy, I don't know how you like to cook your crab, but that is one.
I like to eat it fresh if I can, and then a crab dip.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I got a very secret crab dip.
Oh, secret.
Very secret.
We have no secrets here.
Dip.
We have no secrets here at Fish on Northwest.
Oh, well,
secret, very secret.
No, not even just.
I'd give it to Kelly if I could elk hunt with him.
Sure. Get in line.
More than just.
Get in line. It's going to cost you more than crab dip. I can tell you that.
I will fight him.
Definitely some bush lights. Bush lights and crab dip.
There we go. There we go. I think
I am from North
You might have just been moved to the front of the line, son.
North Pacific County, definitely some bush lights.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. One of our favorites in a lot of the recipes Chef has done when it comes to crab. That is a guarantee home run. Yeah, it's amazing. All right. Jump out for a quick break. We'll come back, close out the show. We got a number of topics to get through. Some things happening at the state level, at the federal level, really good in the realm of land water conservation and the future of hunting and fishing. So yeah, a number of things to get through. We'll do that right after this break right here on Fish on Northwest. Welcome back in studio for our final installment this evening. Dwayne England, Tommy Donlin, and of course Kelly Barnum. So nice to have you back, man. It's been a good
it's like
time.
old times. Like it's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
I thought I might be a little bit nervous tonight.
Dude, you're never far removed. You're solid in your knowledge, and your presentation is always much appreciated. So lots of things going on this last week, fellas. One that is definitely worth mentioning, President Trump signed the Great American Outdoors Act. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it has to do with the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which is huge. And Barnum, we talked about this last year as it was going through legislation trying to get support for it to be finally signed into, whereas it can't just be kind of pulled at in monies allocated to different programs and stuff.
Right.
I'd have to go back and look at the date. 1963-ish sticks out in my mind, where this fund was generated or created as a means of getting money from the big oil companies within the 200 miles offshore reign around the United States. That money comes from the big oil companies into a fund all about land and water conservation. Right. And the money is supposed to be dispersed out through the United States. And historically, to this day, every county in the United States at one time or another has utilized funds to do some type of improvement for land and water access or conservation. Right. We're talking boat ramps or beach access or trails or
public hunting land,
hunting lands, blinds, whatever. So you take a county that has a project. Take Willapa. Let's say we wanted to put in duck and goose blinds along in some of the wetlands and the marsh areas out there along the highway. WDFW doesn't have money for it. They could get somebody to write a grant requesting, itemize it out, submit it. If it gets authorized, the funds come out of the Land and Water Conservation Fund, right? And there's a variety of those that can be utilized. I think I'd asked Chase at one point, can't some of the under-over passage for hoofed animals and, of course, fencing. Can't you tap into that? And I can't remember what he said. And if he's watching tonight, maybe he will give some insight. But it's those types of projects.
Right.
They're going to be advantageous to all outdoor recreators. So that money at times, Tommy, would be pulled from different legislators and whoever had projects or this type of thing they wanted to fund or whatever, and certain governors may try to get money out of there and just waste it frivolously because that's what governors do.
Certain governors.
Certain governors. Yeah. So that money now, $900 million annually is secured in that fund.
Good.
Can only be utilized for land and water conservation, and I would hope agencies like WDFW and a few other agencies within the state under certain criteria that qualify could submit grants or requests and do some things within our state. It's like it took us a number of years to get that upper Wainuchi watershed back open for public access, and they had to go in and punch a road through and give access to the ground. Those are the types of projects that if WDFW or the state doesn't have the funds, it's like, hey, we need to give anglers access on this stretch of river because we need to spread out the pressure.
Right.
And we need to give them access to that upper 13 miles of river because it's the right thing to do. Right. And there are a few other rivers out here, coastal rivers and whatnot, that could use more boat ramp access.
Oh, for sure.
And bathrooms and things like that. So I would hope our state gets very aggressive in submitting, because the more you submit, the bigger opportunity you have to secure some of that money. So pretty exciting, pretty awesome. It did pass through legislation. The House voted 73-25 in favor. The Senate voted amazingly 310 to 107.
Awesome.
Wow. Lots of positive in favor of finally to secure the funds. Bipartisan support across the board, and then Trump happens to be in office and had the luxury of being able to sign that thing into place, and rightfully so. He did it. So folks can be real happy about that. I'm pretty excited about that. That's a huge win for outdoors and recreation. All right, Tommy, along with that, WDFW increased hatchery retention in a few of our marine areas here as we roll into the middle and end of August. What do we know on which areas?
They did. But you know what? We're going to start with the bad news first, and then we'll end with
we got a closure.
The good news, right?
An actual closure?
And on a good note, yes, an actual
full closure.
A full closure of Marine Area 4.
So full disclosure, we got a full-on closure.
We got a full-on closure.
Gotcha.
Area 4.
We mentioned something about that last week that didn't resonate.
It was east of the Vanilla Tattoosh line.
Right, the Vanilla Tattoosh line, and we got off. I got off rail on that.
No, I think you were. You were there.
Yeah.
But now it's closed all the way, so
I'm good.
So you're good to go.
Not going to piss anybody off.
So basically, tomorrow is your last day to fish Marine Area 4, accessing it from CQ. I hate to tell you this, but people caught too many coho.
Oh.
If you keep coho, you can't fish for kings, and that is what happened.
Right.
Caught all those little 3-pound coho.
I didn't really look real hard, but I didn't see, again, kind of like Ilwaco. What is our quota we left on the table? Ilwaco was 63%.
I didn't check. It was Barnum. I think it was around the order of 50%.
Okay.
I'd have to look, but
so Ilwaco last week or the week before we left 63% of the Chinook on the table.
Fishing this year been way better than anticipated, or what?
There's a lot of coho out there.
A lot of feed
than anticipated. And they were there from the very beginning in the straight.
We got some guys asking about Willapa too, if that's going to start torching off here. It's August. It's August.
Yeah, it really should. I'd say second week of August.
That's why I'm bringing the boat home.
Yeah. And in Marine Area 4, the king fishing has just been absolutely phenomenal. Mike Surdick yesterday limited on the kings, inshore, and so it's just sad to see that close early.
Yeah.
Still going strong. But on a good note.
Okay,
Marine Areas 9, 10, and 11. Your Chinook limit is now 2. 2
hatchery marked.
Yes. And so now, depending on the marine area, those areas close at a different date. So basically in Area 9, starting August 16th, Chinook fishing will be closed. But you can still fish for hatchery coho.
Oh, 9 closed on the 16th. Wait a second. Opens for 2 on the 15th, closes on the 16th?
No.
Opens for 2 on the...
Through August 15th.
Gotcha, okay.
2.
Starting, okay.
And then starting August 16th, it's
closed for Chinook. Gotcha,
yep.
Okay.
This 2 fish limit starts tomorrow, August 7th.
Yeah.
Yep.
So got a good couple weeks. Got a
and
week.
then for Marine Area 10, that 2 Chinook limit is through August 31st. Chinook fishing closed on the 1st of September.
Okay.
Area 11 through September 30th. And then October 1st, it's closed for Chinook fishing. So, check your emergency regs, verify that those are the dates associated with 9, 10, and 11.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I mean,
go out and get them.
Bonus limits on the Chinook. I believe it has started off a little slower than anticipated, especially in areas 10. 11 actually this last week. Handful of guys did pretty well. Some of the moochers are getting fish, some of the jiggers, and on the troll. It's just there's certain areas that are fishing much better than others. And for guys that kind of put in some time there and have it dialed, they're finding their fish on a daily, do I dare say daily basis. I beat up on Area 10 for a handful of times, and it's one of those years I should have maybe stuck closer to home and just been dropping the boat in at 11. But it's it's a roll of the dice, right? So take your chances. We are definitely not towards the end of season here. We got plenty of opportunities still left in those areas. I believe this next week, especially like Area 10, is probably going to start kicking out a good number of fish.
It's starting to pick up.
And we're going to start seeing even more the front edge of the ocean coho returning. It's not just going to be the resident coho we're getting up there. You're going to start seeing more ocean coho. So still tons of food out in the straits, man. They're just reluctant to leave, right? Kind of like you at the Royal Fork. It's like, nope, lock the doors, I'm staying all night, right?
Dwayne.
Oh, Tommy.
Halibut was open today as well. You guys got him.
I'm going to mention that. Fished pretty well.
Yeah.
I didn't really get time to get on the old interweb or social medias, but
I was getting some reports. The Surdick family did really well.
I'm sure they did.
Yep, loaded up with a good grade of halibut. Typically when you see that halibut opener in early May and guys go out, it's like a 17-pound average or 15 pound. That's a ping pong paddle.
Yeah. What are we thinking now?
And we're looking 30 to 40.
Gosh.
And that's a great average fish.
Right.
Phil Kim out at Swiftsure Bank today got a 70 pounder.
No
which
kidding.
Is like for Swiftsure Bank, it's unheard of.
Yeah.
Unless you go back to 1988 when the state record was caught there.
Right.
288 pounds.
Holy cow.
But in recent years, it's really just, a small halibut show. So it fished really good on the opener. A lot of guys did well.
Go figure. I think we need to wrap your boot in a bread bag and get out there on a boat.
Out there now.
Huh?
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
And then you can just kick that halibut in the head.
There we go.
With that monster boot
I'll
of
shoot
yours.
him. Put him on your deck. I'll shoot him.
I bet you would.
What's holding me up? What's holding me up? That thing?
Yeah.
That wouldn't stop me.
No. Barnum would be there.
I'd chase elk in that. Guaranteed.
Yes, he would.
Guaranteed.
It's a boot, ain't it?
Yep.
I'd chase elk
I'd
in
use that to rake trees.
There you
Use it
Tommy,
as a tool.
you got up your game, son. Holy cow.
Use it as a tool, not
fantastic.
There you go.
Speaking of closures, Baker Lake did close August 3rd. Remember when we talked about that, Tommy? They had an abundance of fish that they moved up out of the trap into Baker Lake, and we had a great opportunity the first week or so, man. It was for all intents and purposes, lights out fishing on those sockeye. Guys did really well. They had 5,600 fish that they had moved up there. They figure recreational anglers took upwards of 4,700. So they're right at that threshold of wanting to maintain 1,500 for spawn escapement, and that's why they closed it on the 3rd. So if you think you're going to, hey, maybe we should run up to Baker Lake this next weekend, probably a bad idea. It is closed for sockeye. I want to make sure everybody knew that. Another step in the right direction. Barnum, remember when we had Shane Anderson in studio, North Fork Studios, we talked about the Chehalis, a watershed moment. It's all about the dam project, right? And Shane has done an outstanding job on a number of projects, docu-films. This one was every bit as good as any of his projects. Really conveyed the importance of not allowing this dam proposed to go through on the Chehalis watershed and the alternatives in how to control the water and the flood, and the reality that if the dam is put into place, at the end of the day, when we do have that 100-year flood that, as we can all agree, tends to happen more often than every 100 years due to development, logging, and all the things that contribute to that. There are other alternatives to routing the river, creating natural berms and banks, and deferring the water into certain other level area floodplains. Because when the dam gets put in place and they have to release water, at the end of the line, when it runs through those towns that are most affected, the water depth difference held back by the dam, then once released, we're talking maybe a foot, maybe 4 inches, maybe it just depends how far down the line you go. So how much destruction and havoc is raised on this natural pristine watershed when you put this 200-foot tall dam in place, right? So our governor actually stepped in just recently here within the last week or so, and actually was on July 22nd, sent a letter to members of the Chehalis Basin Board, Washington Department of Ecology, Department of Fish and Wildlife, requesting the agencies pause the environmental impact statement process on the proposed Chehalis River Dam and instead seek alternative solutions that would work toward common goal of recovering salmon and flood damage reduction.
Wow.
So basically, Inslee, intervened and said, we're going to stop with the environmental impacts. I want you guys to focus on coming together collectively. Here's the end goal. How do we get there? Kind of an approach, right? Because they've done the research and the study, replacement of natural vegetation, aquatic plants that should be there in the first place. Again, maybe redesigning where the river flows to and through, the overflow areas it would get into if it did in fact flood. He said that defining process and timeline for developing and evaluating the basin-wide non-dam alternative to reduce flood damage, continue evaluating the issues raised regarding the retention project and other flood risk reduction projects, and the potential to avoid, minimize, and mitigate the identified impacts. Also deliver a consensus recommendation on the process back to him no later than September of this year. So he wants to expedite this. And this will lead to a long-term strategy for consideration by him and legislators in the first quarter of 2021, assuming he's there. So, anyway, it's paving the way for the future governor to continue to pick up the pieces on this project. Conservation in mind, what's the best outcome for the fish, the wildlife, the landscape, the habitat, and flood control for those downriver. And with the governor stepping in and paving the way, as the transition happens in January, we're gonna pick up the pieces and move forward with this. Credit to Shane Anderson and crew, North Fork Studios, for really putting that docuseries out and educating persons on the importance of where this needs to go. Credit to the tribes for their input and what's at stake for this. Credit to all the players that actually came together to promote this, and it's obviously heading in the right direction. So another win for conservation, another win for the fish, another win for the elk, another win for wildlife in general, right? So
God, it's a way more positive vibe around hunting and fishing than it was, 9 months ago when I left. Doom and gloom there for a while.
Yeah, well, we landed that $28 million, and all of a sudden things are clicking in the right direction. Both remind you, at the federal level and at the state level, things are happening for the positive. Now, that being said, let's hope that we don't take a back seat to a lot of this stuff as we roll into 2021 with doom and gloom and lack of budget and funds. Hopefully we can continue, and we'll continue to see some of these. I'm excited about this fall to see truly, when we get to our terminal fisheries, how these fisheries will perform. That's a key indicator on truly how well the ocean is rebounding. And then I'm also really curious as what we struggled through last winter through steelhead season to see if we can't rebound there and actually have a full-on season fishery. With great opportunities. So lots of very good information covered this evening. Pretty happy about that. We jumped around. Lots of good intel there. Tommy, good job on the Tuna Talk, as always. Got to come up with another topic for next week, boy.
Can we talk about elk again?
Yeah.
Can we just keep doing this?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Like that dream you never want to wake up from?
Tuna and elk. Tuna and elk.
Yeah.
We need to make it a point. That is the Tuna Elk Challenge. The Fish on Northwest Tuna Elk Challenge.
I'm game.
Go out and get your tuna and bag your elk in the evening. Who can get it done? And, we'll come up with some type of coin you're presented with, right?
There we go.
Perfect.
I want a trophy.
Yeah, you probably do.
Better set it, it opens on the 11th this year? 11th or 12th, one of those days. We better plan on fishing like that morning.
Yeah. We'll leave at midnight.
The key to the success on the tuna elk component is you got to get out and get your tuna.
Yeah.
Right?
Not a problem.
Starts with tuna.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
I mean, it doesn't have to, but elk's
we got to set a number of tuna, though.
Yeah.
Because it can get overboard really quickly.
Yeah.
So either a time or a number.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we have time to get back and find a bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is going to be challenging.
All right, I like it. Good stuff. Thanks for everybody tuning in tonight. We had a lot of folks that stayed on here throughout the duration. Really pretty pleased with that. You have questions, comments, concerns, make sure you hit us up via Messenger or anywhere on our Facebook page. Post your pictures of success. We love to share in that, especially if it involves the kids. Get the kids out, start them young, fishing and hunting. Lots to do out there right now. We got a lot of opportunity. Please get out and take advantage of it. The weather, we got a little rain today, but it's turning back nice, guys, for the next 4 weeks. We got some pretty nice weather. We're going to be out on the water chasing steelhead. We got some Chinooks showing up in our local rivers. It's time to hit the banks with bobbers and eggs. We're going to drown some coon-shrimp for some steelhead. We got halibut opportunities. Tuna's just around the corner. I mean, this stuff is happening, and it's preseason elk time. Go out and get your bear.
Yeah.
Frozen with indecision, as Herzog used to say, right? So, all right, Barnum, always a pleasure, buddy. So good to see you.
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't be such a stranger,
like
doggone it. Yeah, like riding a bike. All right, have a fantastic week. We will be in touch with all you folks. Stay relevant with us on Facebook and enjoy. See you next Thursday right here, 6 p.m.